By the late 1950s, Alfred Hitchcock was the acknowledged master of suspense and a popular craftsman of fine thrillers blending focused direction and biting humour.
You gentlemen aren't really trying to kill my son, are you?
In 1959, he released possibly his greatest film, a film that combined action, romance, and some quality drunk acting, North by Northwest. Alfred Hitchcock was meant to be working on an adaptation of The Wreck of the Mary Dear for MGM, but after he and screenwriter Ernest Lehman grew bored with the project, they turned their attention to fleshing out some ideas that they had kicked around, which eventually became the thriller North by Northwest. Hitchcock tried other directions such as south-southwest or east by northeast, but that would mean setting the film somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So, North by Northwest it was. The film followed the curious case of a Madison Avenue advertising man, Roger Thornhill. He's a twice-married ladies' man and a mama's boy, quick with a turn of phrase, and unfortunately for him, he's also been mistaken for a mysterious government agent, George Kaplan. He's kidnapped by henchmen of the erudite and sophisticated spy Van Damme.
Not that I mind a slight case of abduction now and then, but I have tickets for the theater this evening.
With such expert play acting, you make this very room a theater.
Thornhill is plied with alcohol and popped in a car in the hopes that they can make his death look like an accident. But this is a feature film and not a short, so Thornhill escaped with his life, if not his reputation, which is now in tatters.
Stick out your tongue and say, ah.
You better move back.
He goes on the offensive, tracking down the mysterious George Kaplan, before also being wanted for murder. Look, here's a pro tip. If someone you're talking to is suddenly knifed in the back, and it wasn't you who put the knife there, don't pull the knife out. Also, don't brandish it menacingly. Thornhill is now on the run from the police as well as Van Damme's goons. So he stows away on a train and meets the alluring Eve Kendall, who seems to be up for just about anything. Shamelessly they flirt, shamelessly they hide from the train guards to evade paying for Roger's ticket, and then shamelessly they fuck like rabbits.
I never did. What an empty stomach.
Thornhill happens to fall for Eve and is most distressed when he believes her to be the girlfriend of his newly minted archenemy Van Damme.
Now you play the peevish lover, stung by jealousy and betrayal. Seems to me you fellows could stand a little less training from the FBI and a little more from the actor's studio.
The film alternates between sophisticated settings such as stately manors, glamorous train cars, upscale hotels, auction houses, etc., and then more mundane locations such as train stations, tourist traps, and cornfields in the middle of nowhere. If you want to retrace the film's location, you'd soon discover that most of the actual exteriors were filmed in a studio, with people walking in front of a back projection screen. Now that's acting. Hitchcock was known as a perfectionist, which is code for control freak. He wanted to control everything from the lighting to the weather, even down to his leading lady's wardrobe. Control freak is a word used to describe a lot of people, but Hitchcock was the control freakiest. I mean, he was the type of guy to stand next to the buffet table and tell you what to put on your plate. Fuck off, Hitch. You're not my mother. If I want baked potatoes, stuffed potatoes, mashed potatoes, hash brown, and fries on the same plate, then that's what I'm going to eat. Roger modulates between trying to stay out of police custody to trying to stay alive. He's alternately smitten with Eve, disgusted with Eve, and then risking his life to save hers. And it appears George Kaplan doesn't actually exist. It was all made up, a scam, a sham, vaporware, just like Half-Life 2 Episode 3. Kaplan was an elaborate ruse by intelligence services run by the Professor, whose group faked Kaplan to keep Van Damme off the scent of their real agent, Eve. Awkward? Along the way, there are many iconic moments, such as the climactic sequence on the faces of Mount Rushmore, with more clenching than a group of test subjects trialling a new diarrhea medication. Of course, the film's most famous scene is a lengthy scene of Roger waiting at a bus stop. It's legendary. Roger waits for a contact to show up. Is it this guy? No. Is the contact on the bus? No. The tension builds about whether the contact is on the next bus, or the contact is late, or killed. Oh, and a crop duster tries to kill Roger, which I now sheepishly acknowledge is the actual iconic scene and the bus was just a ruse. You win this time, Alfred Hitchcock. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me hundreds of times over dozens of films in a career spanning decades, shame on me. It was apparently shocking that an unmarried woman would be up for a fling, and without an app. It was a somewhat moralistic era, where even showing a married couple in the same bed would have people burning down their homes in protest. Yet, movie leads were always expected to woo the leading lady, often with the implication that some sort of plowage would be happening off screen.
You've already eaten.
But you haven't.
The famed shot of trains going into a tunnel or fireworks became shorthand to imply penetration. If you apply that logic to later films, see if it doesn't completely change the tone of the film. Thornhill, being new to espionage, has a talent for blundering into a situation, but also getting out of it using quick thinking. I had a cousin like that. Like Roger, he was once mistaken for a spy and led on a cross-country chase with a huge reward for his capture. However, unlike Roger, he was caught and executed for espionage. No one knows how the feds caught him, but I suspect his wife may have been involved ever since she was suddenly able to afford solid gold butt implants. Obviously, this was before she broke both legs trying to walk home from the clinic.
Roger O. Thornhill. What does the O stand for?
Nothing.
Casting was something that Hitchcock often excelled at, and North by Northwest is one of his best in that regard. Cary Grant was pitch perfect as Thornhill, a smug smartass but otherwise ordinary person thrust into a world of espionage. Eva Marie Saint smoulders as the double agent Eve. It takes a while for the film to reveal her true intentions and allegiances, but it's a performance unlike so many of Hitchcock's films the following decade, where apparently he just couldn't find the right shade of blonde. James Mason is a suave and sophisticated villain, menacing without being overly dramatic, and rarely less than charming. Martin Landau is his overly creepy number 2.
Call it my woman's intuition.
And Leo G. Carroll as the Professor is playing almost the same type of character as his appearance in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which basically used the same format as this movie, which was good spies using members of the public.
Stop!
Oh, excuse me.
Stop.
The cinematography, wardrobe and production design, they're all top-notch. This is one of Hitchcock's best-looking films. But of special note is Bernard Herrmann's amazing score. North by Northwest was a decent-sized hit at the time of release, but its reputation has grown over time to the point where it regularly appears on lists of best movies. It's certainly my favourite Hitchcock film, and probably my pick of movies released in the 1950s. Its influence is widespread, like the moon's gravitational pull, and a notable example of this are the early James Bond movies, which took the notion of a well-dressed action hero and printed money for decades. Now that's quantitative easing. North by Northwest is a film that, if it had been set in a time with mobile devices and satellite navigation and facial recognition, really wouldn't be the same. Instead, we have a cool thriller with snappy dialogue and a charming cast that is worthy of watching and rewatching time and time again. Next up, Alfred Hitchcock would make a very different type of film. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below or check out some of our other videos.